In this video, we are going to discuss one of the largest expenses many Singaporeans have and no, it's not your coffee every single day. And how can you save more than $30,000 a year if you avoid this one thing? I recently asked a close colleague of mine what his monthly expenses are like. He is married, has a house, 2 kids, and spends about 7.5k each month. I never asked him how much he and his wife earns, but they told me they barely have much to save. His largest expense isn't his mortgage, which is about 1k and also covered by his CPF, or his 2 kids, which is about 1k because he sends them to a government childcare center, or even 2k a month on groceries plus eating out. His largest expense is actually his car. He told me including all the tax, insurance, parking and everything, it averages out to be about 2.5k a month. So that's what Silly also estimates the monthly price of a car to be. Anyway, he also admits it's not worth it. 2.5k a month is 30k a year. So imagine how many holidays you could be going in a year with 30k. If you're investing the 30k a year, it would be worth 478k in 10 years. What's more, if you then withdraw 6% from this 478k annually, you get 2.4k per month, which then can be used to afford the car theoretically forever. So the point is, with the same money you will use to buy a car now, you can invest it and wait 10 years later to afford the car perpetually. But this is assuming there's no inflation. But you get the idea. If you delay a gratification from buying a car in the first 10 years, you will then have the money to afford the car forever after that, instead of being $300,000 poorer in 10 years. Hi, if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Aaron and I make videos about my plan to be financially independent by 28. I'm 26 now, so it's 2 years more to go. If you're interested in following along my journey, consider subscribing. Let's say you buy a car at 30 years old and keep buying cars for the rest of your life. Let's say another 50 years. It would have been 35 million if invested in a broad-based index fund like the S&P 500 with the historic average of about 10% each year. So it really makes me think twice about whether I need to buy a car in Singapore. As car ownership in Singapore is only 11%, it means the majority of Singaporeans get around with private hire and public transport. If so, then there is no need to own a car in Singapore, so I don't need to work towards 478k to afford a car perpetually. And since I don't need to work for this 478k, at my current investment rate of 5,310% returns, I can save 6 years of working or 3.5 years if I have a wife to split the cost equally. Singapore is also not like many other countries with poorer public transport infrastructure like Indonesia or Malaysia, or the US where you need a car to get around. If I'm not wrong, we have one of the best public transport systems in the world. Also, our cars have no value after 10 years, so I treat it as renting. After 10 years, all the money is gone. Foreigners think it's ridiculous that we pay so much for a car and it's worth nothing after 10 years. Their cars aren't only cheaper, but they can also use it forever. I also find this funny. American finance YouTubers are also saying that cars are the #1 wealth killer for them too. I can't imagine what they would think of buying cars in Singapore. Besides, when you buy a car, 90% or more of its time is in a parking lot. The car still depreciates even when it's not being used. So I feel it's not a very efficient use of money. But will I eventually have a car in Singapore? I think the answer is still probably yes, but only after I have nothing else more worth to spend money on. For example, I could spend 30k per year on holidays, which to me is obviously way more worth it compared to having just a little bit faster and a more comfortable commuting experience. So it is not part of my budget to be financially independent, but it's like a super long-term goal if my investments grow to an insanely big amount, and buying a car really has to be a super small percentage of my income in order for me to consider buying it. So meanwhile, here are my options: public transport, Blue SG, car renting, or private hires. We all know that public transport is the cheapest, but the cost can't be shared like a car. So if public transport cost per month is $80, for a family of 4 that will be $320 per month. For the car sharing options, I'm just gonna compare how much it will be if I were to send and fetch my future kids to and from school. So I will use this silly article to find out the price for 2 hours on a weekday for a month. For Blue SG, that's 42 cents times 120 minutes to get $50.40 a day. So that's $1,008 a month. More expensive than expected since I see Blue SG cars on the road more often than the others. Maybe it's because it's the only service that you can leave the car at the destination. For all other services, it's A to A, meaning the metering stops when you return the car to the original location. So it's quite inconvenient if you need to spend a long time at your destination, like, I don't know, going to work. I'm not sure why you can't leave the car at another location for the other services. I'm sure there's some reason, but I don't know why. Anyway, let's move on. Using Carlite, sending the kids in the morning would be $1.70 and fetching them in the afternoon would be $1. Adding the petrol charge estimated to be $5.60, I got this from Seedly's $8.40 for 3 hours. So that would be $8.30 a day or $166 a month. So that's super cheap. However, it does not look like their fleet is very big, so it's hard to get cars. For GetGo, following how Seedly calculated the price for 3 hours, I calculated the price for 2 hours will be $5 times 2 hours plus 39 cents times 30 km. So that will be $21.70 a day. So for the month, that will be $434. For Chariot, using the cheapest line called the Saver, it's $3.90 per hour on off-peak hours and $5.90 per hour on peak hours. So that should be $9.80 plus a petrol charge of $5.60. It should be $15.40 per day. So $308 a month. Not bad. For Tribecar, I took one off-peak hour price and one peak hour price and got $8.10. Then plus petrol is $13.70 a day, so $274 per month, so even better than Chariot. For Club Cars, cheapest tier, it's $12 for 2 hours plus $11.70 for petrol, so it's $23.70 for a day, or $474 a month. So one of the pricier options here. According to Seedly, a 19-minute Grab ride costs about $30. If we take this ride twice a day for all the weekdays in a month, that's $1,200 a month. So that's more than double of Blue SG prices. So my plan is this: continue to take public transport because Carlite or Tribecar would make no sense if I don't have a family yet. And also for Carlite or Tribecar, the trip stops when I return the car to the original location. So I can only see it being used when I need to send the future kids to school and come home. Meanwhile, I invest the money that would have been spent on a car so I can afford more important things like traveling, hobbies, and whatever else I want to do. And only until I have nothing else to spend money on, then I'll finally buy a car in Singapore. And because it's not even necessary to have a car in Singapore, I can save 6 years of working and get to financial independence much quicker. Would you forgo having a car if it can save you 6 years or more so that you can achieve financial independence? Let me know in the comments below. If you're interested in my plan to retire by 28, watch this video here.